Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today we have a treat. Myja is going to be joining us. She's going to be talking about her health journey. She's lost some weight. She's healed and reversed some things. And yeah, she's still at it. So we're going to get into all of that coming up next. Stay tuned. We're missing a piece of the puzzle. You start getting healthy and you just become a better person.
We need to start focusing more on the individual.
All right, so welcome to the channel. I'm really excited to have you. How you feeling today?
I am feeling amazing. Absolutely amazing.
We were just talking earlier, and you're saying that you're currently on a fast. This is day 13, right?
This is day 13 of hopefully 21.
21.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I think there's something special about the 21-day mark. I find that a lot of people who like host fasting sessions and things do the 21 days.
Yeah.
And I know from my personal experience, you have this what I call a shrink week from if you're doing like a 21-day fast, your third week leading up to your 21st day, you have like this period of time where you don't really lose weight, but your body does all this tightening and shrinking. And so I found that the body does very unique things based on how long you fast. So should be fun to see what you experience on this one.
Well, I can't wait till week 3. So we'll see. I'm ready.
Yeah, that's when the clothes start fitting weird. I mean,
Yeah. I've already found some of my clothes are falling off. I'm like, okay, I have an excuse to go shopping now. But
yeah.
I'm gonna wait if we're gonna go through a shrink week.
My brother, my brother John, when we very first started going through this process for him, he was very adamant. He's like, Chris, I'm not buying any clothes until I get to where I need to be.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because he's not a shopper. He doesn't like shopping. He doesn't like wasting money on clothes. So he waited until he had lost like 100 pounds before he bought anything.
What was he wearing?
Sweatpants and like big t-shirts. Yeah, just getting by.
I love it.
So I want to really get into this story. To get things started off, there's a couple different parts of your story.
Yes.
But based on what you had posted on the Facebook group, right now you are currently down 190 pounds. Is that right?
Right now, probably a little bit more than that. I'm not stepping on the scale every day because I'm not doing this fast for weight loss in particular.
Right.
But last time I weighed, I was exactly 190 pounds down.
Wow. That's incredible. And that's one of the things that really drew me to you is that I don't see women as often lose almost 200 pounds. And we've got a couple of men who have been on the channel, but I really wanted to get you on because, women feel like they can't do it often like men. Yeah. So I was like, no, we definitely need to have her on. And then you said something else that kind of took me by surprise. You had diabetes and now you don't have diabetes?
I guess we can't say healed, but no, I do not have diabetes anymore.
It's funny because in one of my first interviews with my brother, we were talking about diabetes because he had a diabetic condition.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so you had diabetes and now you don't have it anymore.
Right. Yeah, right. So I no longer struggle with that particular ailment.
Incredible. Okay. So now that the audience knows why they need to listen to this interview, let's get into some of the background information. Where did this whole journey begin for you?
Oh my gosh, this has been a really long journey. So I've always been overweight. So I was overweight even as a child. In fact, my nickname in high school was Buddha.
Oh, wow.
Terrible, but that was my nickname. In 2011 is really when my journey started. Just to set the stage, I had, at the time, my son was 1. I had 2 teenage daughters. My husband had just left. I was working full-time. I was going to school full-time. And I was severely depressed. So I was stressed out. I was depressed. To be honest, I probably thought about suicide every single day. And the only reason I didn't act on it is because I had 3 kids. So like mid 2011-ish, I woke up one morning and my heart rate had essentially doubled. I had a splitting headache. And I remember thinking waking up, I'm having a heart attack.
Mm.
It was just that dry because I just was in that space. Anyway, went to the hospital and I hadn't been going to the doctor. I was not taking care of myself. I weighed in at 408 pounds. Blood pressure was like 220 over 180, so I was definitely in Strokesville. My blood sugar, I believe, was 500 and something. I don't remember the exact number, but it was in the 500s. And I was having tachycardia, where literally your heart rate doubles.
Wow.
And they could not get an IV in. I was so full of fluid that they just could not get an IV in. Luckily, there was a nurse there. I don't know where she got this from, but she had me like blow into a pen.
Mm.
And like bear down, and it felt like my heart stopped, but it actually just reset and started beating normally.
Mm.
Long story short, the doctor came in and he's going down this whole laundry list of things, and my face was probably just like, I really don't care. I want to go home. I don't care. I was in that space, like I was that person.
Right.
Finally, he stopped and he looked at me and he was like, you're a great candidate for bariatric surgery because you do realize you're going to die if you keep this up. Ironically enough, I had been studying for, I don't know, some months. For whatever reason, I didn't plan on going raw vegan or anything. It just interested me. I started studying this.
Mm-hmm.
I left the hospital with 5 different medications, like insulin, something for my heart, all kinds of stuff. And on the way home, I was like, I'm not taking any of this. This is not my life. I'm not having surgery. I'm not doing any of this. It took a while, but I cleaned out my house of all the food. And I said to myself, you can have fruits, nuts, vegetables, and seeds as much as you want. You can eat as much as you want, but that's all you can eat. So I did that for a year. I didn't exercise. I didn't do anything else. That's all I did. And I lost 100 pounds in that year.
Wow.
Just by going raw vegan.
Yeah.
And I did see my mood stabilize a little bit. I had more energy, and there was things physically that I didn't even realize were happening. Like my neck was brown. The inside of my legs were brown. Like my inflammation went away. Like all of that went away inside of a year. I had started going to the doctor that year, and they were like, oh, you're taking your medication. I was like, yeah, I'm taking my medication. I'm not taking any medication. And so at the end of that year, like no sign really of diabetes. Blood pressure has stabilized. Like everything went away inside of that year just by going raw vegan. So that was interesting. So that was phase 1 of the weight loss. Then in 2012 to 2014, I kind of fell off the raw vegan lifestyle. That's really hard to maintain for me anyway. It really limits like your social life, all of that. I ended up being kind of a processed food vegan, like a junk food vegan for 2 years. My weight fluctuated between like 315 and 275. 2014, I met a trainer at church. He was like a bodybuilder, and he was like, oh, you know, I want to help you lose all this weight, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll start working out with you. I also met somebody and got in a pretty serious relationship that same year. I worked out for 2 years, literally 2 years. At the end, I was probably working out twice a day.
Wow.
Like working out hard. Boot camp on Saturdays, working out hard. I had never got below 210 pounds. Never. I had even cleaned up my diet. I wasn't eating so much processed food. And then this was like 2016, which I call the lost year. The guy that I was going to marry like disappeared off the face of the earth. I didn't realize I still was having a lot of unresolved like mental issues from my childhood and my past and all of that. So I stopped working out. I really fell off in 2016 and gained a lot of weight,
Mm.
alarmingly fast. And really fell back into depression, all of these things. And I had a girlfriend who worked in like the mental health field, and she was like, have you ever thought about counseling? And us
Yeah.
Black folks were like, what you mean counseling? I'm not going to talk to nobody. I'm not crazy.
Right.
But it did get to the point where I was in such a bad space where I would go to work, I would throw up, I would lock myself in my office, and I wouldn't talk to anybody for the rest of the day. Like I was in a really bad space, not realizing that I was in a relationship with somebody who literally had a personality disorder. I didn't realize like I was going through abuse and I was repeating a cycle from my childhood.
Mm.
Didn't realize any of that. Finally, she talked me into going to counseling in 2016. Very interesting that as I started to deal with some of the internal things that were going on with me, the weight just started falling off again.
Wow.
So it was almost like really what was going on with me mentally and emotionally and spiritually was manifesting physically. I was using food and my weight as a wall, a barrier to deal with some of these things. And so I was finding new coping mechanisms, all of these things in 2016. So 2016 was just an odd year.
Mm.
Enter 2017, which was really the start of like this phase of my life. I turned 40 in 2017. I had lost this weight. I had found this renewed like love for life. For my 40th birthday, Chris, I decided I was going to go on a 21-day road trip by myself. I was going to go and mark all these things off my bucket list. People were like, you are crazy. What is a Black girl going to do? Just driving across the country, just hiking, and all of these things. Literally tent camping, hiking, all of this stuff. There were two pivotal moments on that trip. The first one, I always wanted to see Delicate Arch in Arches National Park. You always see pictures of it. It's like this iconic picture. And I said, I'm going to go see that. I'm going to go. I thought it was a side of the road attraction, I thought. So I go to the office. I'm like, where's Delicate Arch? They're like, that's a really hard hike. I'm like, whatever. I'm going to go see Delicate Arch. So I drive up and I see these people coming off this trail just looking like who done it and why. And I'm like, all right, whatever. I'm going to go see Delicate Arch. I'm here. I'm just going to go do it. I'm not trained. I'm just going to go. I've lost weight. I feel good about it. I can do this. Baby, let me tell you something. I get up, hard hike. I kept stopping. I'm out of breath, probably looking crazy. It's hot. I get to a part in the trail where it's literally 3 feet wide. On one side is like a 200-foot drop. On the other side is the rock face. I get there and I lost all my confidence. I'm like, you know what? I'm not about that life. I'm not doing this. And it was so funny. A man was coming down and he saw it in my face. I was getting ready to turn around. He was like, you know what? You can't turn around because it's just around the bend. It's just a few more steps. I was like, dang, okay, fine. So I'm literally flat against the wall because I don't want to see it.
Right.
Chris, when I tell you I rounded that corner and I saw Delicate Arch, it was, I can't even explain it. I think in my mind, I realized you can do whatever you want to do. You have complete control over your body. If you believe that you can do it, you can. It totally changed my paradigm. In that moment, I just started crying. I was a mess. People were like, what is wrong with her? But I was standing there doing something I never thought I would do and realizing in that moment that, dang, you have a lot more control than you thought you did.
Right.
So there was that. Second pivotal moment on that trip, I went to Idaho to a place called Shoshone Falls. It's the Niagara Falls of the West. I was sitting by the waterfall, just listening to the waterfall, and the thought popped into my head, you need to write a book. Just randomly. I'd never thought about writing a book before. You need to write a book. And the name of the book is Limitless. It's okay. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to do that. Anyway, long story short, that trip really set the stage for what's happened since then. 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit. I was living in Houston at the time. Hurricane Harvey hit. I was working for the mayor's office in Houston. We ended up having to put the city back together, essentially. After that, I made the decision to move out of Houston because after Ike and Harvey, I was like, I'm not, I can't live that life anymore. So I moved to Arizona in late November, I think. I got depressed again because it was just such a culture shock. But I fell in love with the environment because I could hike every day, the mountains, just beautiful scenery. I published my book in 2018.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That was just an amazing accomplishment. But I did. I found myself kind of depressed again. I was still hiking for about a year. Then in May of last year, so not even a year, I found a healthy alternative. And I started binge watching. I was like, instead of Netflix and chill, it was really a healthy alternative and chill. I started binge watching. I was like, water fasting. Like, what is this? Is this even possible? Am I going to die if I try this? All of these things. And I just fell in love with your brothers, their story. And I was like, you know what? All right, I'm going to try it. So I just dove in. Get ready.
Yeah.
Fast was 11 days. Fine, I'm just going to do it. Which was a great experience. It totally changed my paradigm about how often we need to eat, what we need to put into our body. All of it. It just totally changed my paradigm. And since then, I've been playing around with, 2 on, 1 off, playing around with OMAD. I'm currently on day 13 of a 21-day fast, which has been amazing. I have a ton of energy, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect that this time because last time it was a little lower energy. I don't know why I have so much energy this time, but I do. And I found that my mood has completely stabilized. My level of just optimism and all of it has completely stabilized. So it's been an amazing unfolding. It's been really, really good.
Absolutely. I was talking to one of our members a couple of days ago about getting her prepped and ready to do a long-term fast, 10 days or more. Because she had mentioned that a lot of what she was dealing with was mental. And I told her, I was like, if you really want to work on those mental issues, you want to do the 10+ day fasts. The shorter fasts don't really get where you need to get, as far as that goes. And so that's been my experience as well. Those longer fasts are very unique. And if you've never done them, you got to work towards getting there because it's such a different experience.
It is. I can say the first, like the 11-day fast, I broke that fast bad. But day 9 and 10 of that fast, when you talk about emotion, I was so emotional.
Yeah.
I would just start crying. I don't know what's wrong with me. So a lot of, I think our emotional body, I guess, begins to heal around day 9 or 10.
Yeah. It's so interesting that it works that way. Because, people think, I actually just did a interview on this hydration summit, which for those who are listening, if it's not too late, I think March 15th is when the summit comes down. You guys should definitely check out the Hydration Summit Foundation or the Hydration Foundation Summit. Sorry. I'll leave the link in the description, but
Cool.
I was talking to a lady about helping her to, get to that point where she can, reach those 10+ days. But the for some reason, the body does different things at different points in the fast, and you can't build up to it. Like, when I did that interview, the lady, she was like, talking about like the shorter fasts, even a few hours or 24
Mm-hmm.
hours. And that's great to get started, but you should always build yourself up to the point where you could do 10 plus days,
Sure.
because something unique takes place. And as we were talking before, even with the 21 days, there's something that unique takes place when you fast for 21 days or 40 days.
Yeah.
It's very different. So that's very interesting. I wanted to kind of go back a little bit
Sure.
and ask you, like, throughout this process, especially towards the beginning, when you
Yeah.
when you went and you threw all the food out of the house, and brought in fruits and vegetables, what was that like for your children, like that transition?
It really wasn't hard. So my middle daughter is a gymnast, so she's always been very health conscious.
Mm.
My oldest daughter was not with it. She would always sneak hamburgers and whatnot. I tried after a couple of months to cook for them, to have a little bit more normalcy because I was extreme.
Right.
It was like we're going all the way.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, my son is mildly autistic. And so I have him on a vegan diet and it has totally changed him. So
Mm.
it was definitely for my oldest daughter, it was a huge transition just
Right.
because she was older. She was not with it. But my middle daughter now, she's 20, she'll be 22. She's still a vegan. Living
Nice.
out on her own in Oregon, doing her thing. She's still a vegan. So, and interestingly enough, my oldest daughter, she's not vegan, she's a vegetarian. So some of it stuck, some of it
Yeah.
stuck. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of challenging because they're used to something for so long, and then all of a sudden, here comes mom and just flips the table on them.
You can't have no cookies, no crackers, ain't no ice cream in this piece. You
Right.
can't have none of it. Um, but I tried to be very cognizant of that because I realized like that's a huge change for teenagers to go through.
For anybody.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure.
Especially if, and see, for you, there was the motivation. You were the one you were in the hospital. You were the one dealing with all these particular issues. So you had a lot of motivation. Whereas the children, they're still young. I mean, you can really bang your body up quite a bit before it starts breaking down. So especially
Absolutely.
as you young, you feel like nothing can touch you. You do whatever. Eat
Yeah.
ice cream right before you go to sleep. Wake up the next
Whatever.
day, have coffee, whatever. Just keep on moving.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to see them though now living a very healthy lifestyle. And I'm thankful that some of that took root for them. And they're at a point now where they're adults and they're making very healthy choices. So that's really good.
Yeah, part of my story is my grandma actually did that to us to a degree. I didn't, like, I wasn't living with her at the time. I did at certain points in my life, but
Mm.
at the time when she made her health changes, we were just like visiting on holidays,
Yeah.
and she would just completely change up our food, like, randomly. And we would be begging her, like, "Grandma, please make this, please make that." She'd be like, "Nope, nope, it's not good for you." So that was a difficult transition, and I didn't understand it, but it planted a seed, I think,
Yeah.
and then when I got older and I started dealing with my own things, I remembered it and I started watering that seed and it started growing.
I
So
think it's just really important, especially as young women. My daughters are young women now and dealing with all the things they have to deal with. Health should never be one of them. And the fact that you know, they're emotionally stable. I think a lot of it has to do with diet. They
yeah.
don't eat meat. They don't put all of those toxins into their body, and they're just very well-adjusted young women. I think that diet has a lot to do with it.
I mean, your story, I think, is proof of that, if not, just for your own family, your own life. But I mean, if we look at other people, even myself, I've changed a lot since I've changed my diet,
Yeah.
like I've always kind of been who I am, but like my outlook on life, my energy, like it's all different now.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely true. I mean, coming from, and I was really just, when you reached out, I'm like, how much of my story am I really going to tell? How much am I comfortable sharing? Because I really think about the place I was back in 2011 and prior to that, just dealing with, like, my upbringing was hard.
Mm.
My parents were addicts. Like, we dealt with all kinds of abuse. And really thinking about, in 2011, having that victim mentality and not thinking I had control over what was happening to my body, um, to the place where I am now, where I'm like, I have complete control over my life. And,
Right.
it's really a mind, body, spirit, emotional connection. And really, it was because I decided and understood that I had to stop putting these toxins in my body. I have to, and it's not just the food, it's the thoughts that we're thinking, it's the places that we are, the people we're surrounding ourselves with. Like, health is it's so holistic. Like, it encompasses your whole life, and people really get stuck with the, oh, I'm overweight, I'm obese. Sometimes that's just the manifestation of what's going on internally, and we don't recognize it. And
Right.
I think as soon as we begin to recognize it, if we're not afraid to go seek help and talk to somebody and unpack what's going on with us, we will continue those bad behaviors and never get out of that cycle until we have just a paradigm shift.
Yes, facts. Like, and that's the reason why my approach is holistic, because as I'm learning more and more, I see that, it's really about your overall consumption, not just what you're eating, but what do you put on your body? What do you like? What words are people speaking to you? What words are you speaking to others? There's so many different factors that go into health, and I feel like if we don't consider our you know we're like physical, mental, and spiritual beings. If we don't consider each part of our being, then we'll never really be able to achieve the health that we desire.
Like,
So I know that you mentioned that your son is slightly, has slight autism, and so
mhm,
now that he's been on the vegetarian or the plant-based diet,
yeah,
he's been getting better. And one of our other members, Chocolate, she has a son who is also dealing with that, and it's been amazing over the past couple of years just being able to hear her stories and interact with him, how much he started coming out of that. And
yeah.
so would you like how when you very first did the big shift, I guess, and you took, changed all the food,
Yeah,
and is that when you started him on his dietary change as well? And then how
it is.
quickly did you see, a difference?
So and it's been really difficult with him because I share custody with my ex-husband.
Uh,
So he does not adhere to any kind of diet
of
when
course
he's
not.
there. Um, but when I shifted over, he was 2 years old. Um, you immediately saw his eye contact improved, his social skills, his ability to hold conversations with people without getting, really frustrated. Now that he's older, he'll be 10 this year. You can see a marked difference. Like, when he comes home from the summer where he hasn't been on a vegan diet and we get him back on track, just his ability to focus, his
Mm,
ability to have social interactions. He couldn't read for a long time. We had a really, really hard time getting him to read. And I really tightened up because he's kind of a processed food vegan.
right.
Being a kid,
Yeah.
right? I don't want him to miss out on everything. I really tightened up on his diet to where he was probably 90% raw food.
Mm,
Um, and his ability to read, uh, he's now reading at almost a sixth grade level in the third grade. And so
nice.
it's it's amazing, what your food choices for your kids can do. Even kids that suffer with ADHD. I've seen a lot of parents go vegan, and the differences are amazing. A lot of this is brought on by the food choices in the first place. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely, and we don't have him on any medication. I refuse to put it because he's not behavioral problems. They're more social.
Mm,
And so, every time we go to the doctor, well, he could go, no, he can't. He can have more fruits and vegetables.
Right. That's that I think that takes a very strong person because oftentimes the doctors are put a lot of pressure on you to
Yeah.
take this and take that. So I respect that a lot, especially in our current climate where there's a lot of children who are being branded as autistic or ADHD or whatever the other disorders that they're kind of coming up with. And I'm just like, man, I feel like it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, man, we can stop this. Like if we just,
crippling.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and your story is so important, as well as, other people will tell their story about their children. Cause like, we got to pay attention. Like just by changing his diet, you were able to see a notable difference. That's important.
It is important. And I think it's crippling these days, the way that we just force feed our kids drugs without thinking about what else is going on with them, right? Like we don't think about close to 80% of kids with autism also have gut problems.
There you go.
Right? That to me screams diet. And a lot of us have a really hard time being a strong advocate for our kids, right? Like my son can't buy lunch at school. He can't eat it. And so even snacks at school, no, he cannot have cupcakes.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It is. It's hard for two-parent households. Like as a single parent, you have to fight for your kid. And a lot of people just don't have the energy with everything else they're doing to fight for their kids. And they don't have, society tells us so much about what we should do. Yes, put them on medication and that, will resolve some of the symptoms, but it's not getting to the root cause of the problem, right? I'm just not an advocate for medicating kids, not that young.
Right.
Now, I've seen kids with some serious like behavioral problems. Yes, please put this little dude on some medication. But there's very few instances where children need to be on these hard drugs. The side effects can be crippling for the rest of their lives. So I will tell anybody, you know what, try CBD oil, try a vegan diet, try all of these different things before you put them on narcotics, because it's just not worth it. And it's crippling. They can't do that for the rest of their lives. They're going to blow out their liver before they're 30. And so, try some natural remedies for these kids, because they absolutely work if you stay on top of it. Not to say that that's easy. I'm not trying to minimize anybody's struggle, but you really do. You have to be a strong advocate for your kid, and you really have to study alternatives to, these crazy medications. We see these kids as teenagers now going in and shooting up schools and being all suicidal, and it clearly states on the medication, these are side effects.
Right.
I can't say enough about how diet will really change the trajectory of any child's life. And it's really important to just dig in and start learning and talking to people that have done it and dealt with it before.
Now that last thing that you just said is one of the most powerful pieces, because it's like, okay, you have a doctor who maybe he doesn't have an autistic child, or she doesn't have an autistic child. Maybe she's never done the research, never been a part of these studies and things like that. Just gets a brochure from a pharmaceutical company, right? And you trust this person over someone like yourself, or someone else who has had the actual hands-on experience. And I just can't get that. It's like, let's listen to the people who have actually applied some of these alternatives, and let's see what they say. Like, why would people be out here lying on their children about their experiences and things? Like, what's the benefit?
There's no benefit.
If you talk to 2 or 3 parents who have had, a positive result with just changing their child's diet, why not like really try that? And people, a lot of times with the autistic children, they say, oh, it's really hard because they get stuck in this way. They want to eat French fries and chicken nuggets and all.
Elijah's the same way. When he comes back from summer vacation, he won't eat. Okay, you'll eat when you get hungry.
Right.
I'm not putting anything else in this house.
Right.
And the fact is, we have to quit acquiescing to their kids, right?
Right.
If you put it in front of them and they don't want to eat it, that's fine. You'll get hungry enough and you'll eat it.
Right.
Um, Also, I think we have these societal mental models, right? Where we've been conditioned to trust our doctor, even though doctors, they have no nutritional education.
Right.
They have maybe an hour in all of their schooling of nutrition education, and even that's skewed. So I think you're absolutely correct. Reaching out, talking to people, doing research, understanding what other people are doing and what's working is so important. But again, being a mom of an autistic child for a long time, feeling isolated, like people don't know what the hell I'm going through. Like this is hard.
Yeah.
But there are people out there that you can talk to. And a healthy alternative, again, totally changed my paradigm on food and what I actually need to ingest into my body. There's a ton of resources out there at your fingertips. And it's just so important to study it because, again, I really think like the pharmaceutical industry and doctors, no fault of their own, they've been trained this way.
Right.
They're not putting all of it together. And so again, you have to be an advocate for your kid and your family to make sure that you're not crippling them for life. Because I don't want my son to get to be 20. I don't want him living with me. I need you to be able to make good choices and navigate in society,
Yeah.
Regardless, because it's not a disability. He has some cognitive differences, but he's not disabled. And if it means that I have to work double time to make sure that he's ingesting what he needs to ingest and not be toxic, that's what it means. And that's our responsibility as parents.
Yeah. And
so yeah, that's my soapbox.
Well, I wanted to touch on that because I feel like it's an issue that's plaguing us right now. There's not a ton of people who come on here that talk about it. We have had a few people in the group, like I mentioned, who have dealt with it. But anytime I can highlight it, I think because a lot of people feel like there's no hope and there's nothing you could do. But that's how, when people feel like there's no hope for, autistic children, well, that's how a cancer patient feels. And that's how a HIV patient feels. Like everyone feels like there's no hope. Even I felt like there was no hope for my issues.
Yeah.
We all get to that point. And it's like a healthy alternative to me is a place where we can not just provide hope, but also give you tools that you can use to start seeing change and start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So I appreciate you
That's
talking.
the other thing I didn't talk about. I didn't talk about why I'm on my current fast.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
So a couple months ago, I was having a lot of breast pain and went to the doctor, scared to death. I was like, not this. So I have some benign tumors in my breast, and I was in a lot of pain. And of course, the first remedy they offered was surgery. And I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And so the reason I decided on this 21-day fast is to try to eliminate or at least reduce the size of those tumors. And I will say within a week, like I wasn't in any pain after a week. And there is a noticeable difference as of right now. So we'll see. I'll have some follow-up appointments or whatever, but my first thought was, you know what, just go on a prolonged fast, see what happens. But I can tell you, it's like the difference in the way that I feel in my zero pain.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I feel like where you are now, you're still getting to where you need to be, right?
Yeah.
And I think oftentimes, especially if weight loss is at the top of our list, if that's the most important thing, for somebody to lose 200 pounds, they're going to start feeling like, yo, I done kind of made it a little bit. You know what I mean? And it's like the goal should always be health, right?
Total health.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Total health. Because like I was talking to someone the other day. I said, skinny people get cancer. Like weight loss isn't weight
It
loss
doesn't
is
matter.
it's not, that's not the goal. The goal is health.
Yeah.
So being able to use fasting as a tool. I actually recently did an interview. It hasn't come out yet as of this, as as we're recording this, but I did an interview with one of our members who has a tumor on his pituitary gland in his head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he's had it for quite some time and something he's been dealing with, but he hasn't actually taken the time to, really change his habits and kind of look at healing this thing. Well, interesting enough, he found a healthy alternative a couple years ago, but he just is kind of in it, not really, being
Yeah.
consistent. He had an attack about 2 weeks ago or so now, and he had to go to the doctor and get the scans and all that stuff done. And what they found was that his tumor had actually shrunk, and it was just the shell that, like, I don't really know. He said it's kind of like a sac, like almost like the placenta or something like that.
Mhm.
And so the sac was still there or whatever, but the actual tumor had shrunk down from he said a golf ball size to a pea size.
Wow.
And the discomfort and the pain that he was experiencing was it starting to grow again, because he hasn't been consistent with the changes that
Right.
he's made,
Yeah.
and this is why I preach lifestyle change so heavily. And as you were telling your story, I was thinking, when you go from 0 to 100, you're like, okay, I'm eating McDonald's and fast food and pizza, and then you go to raw.
Yeah.
That's a really extreme change.
Very.
Doesn't give your mental enough time to adjust. So then you're more prone to kind of yo-yoing.
Yep.
Do you feel like where you are now with the approach that you've taken, do you feel like it's more sustainable for you?
I do. I do. I think the initial weight loss was because there was acute things going on and I had to do it. But I think the journey since then has been so much more about my emotional, my mental, like really getting prepared for this point in my life. I'm absolutely prepared to continue on some sort of fasting regimen for the rest of my life because it feels normal. I feel better,
Yeah.
not just physically, and which is why I don't talk about weight loss a whole lot. Like, yeah, I've lost 190 pounds and that's great. And I'm super proud of that. But at the same time, like where I am mentally and my outlook on life, I it's so much more powerful
Yeah.
than the weight loss. So I think taking a longer time to like get my mental under control, deal with all of those internal things that were just manifesting physically is really important for that sustained lifestyle. Because if we just jump into I'm just going to fast because I want to lose 50 pounds, you can put that 50 pounds back on real quick. And you hear it all the time. Oh, I fasted for 40 days, but I gained all the weight back within 6 months.
Yep.
It's because you weren't prepared to fast for 40 days. You didn't do your internal work. And I just really think that that's missing in a lot of us because we're still stuck in that very limited mindset. So
Right.
I do think taking a longer time, doing your internal work, making sure you're doing things for the right reasons. You're not doing it out of vanity or whatever. And of course, there's times where, again, for me, when I first started, it was like there's these acute things going on that I absolutely have to fix or I'm going to die.
Right.
Get that. But in order to sustain it, you really do have to really be ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, even because the spiritual part of this has been, I don't know, falling in love with the universe, God, whatever you will,
Mm-hmm.
um, has been such a huge part of this journey as well.
Oh yeah, that's exactly how it was for me. I actually was blown away at my appreciation for nature that I developed. I mean, to the point where I don't even kill before you just kill an insect, whatever.
Think
He said,
about it now.
I think about it. I
Yeah.
think about all of that stuff. And it's not that I'm like super hyper sensitive, but I appreciate it and I think about it and I consider nature. I look at animals completely different from how I used to, you know. Even spiders, people people hate spiders because of all the
They're
movies and everything,
necessary.
you know. But it's like I have such a appreciation for nature as a whole, and you know, the creation as a whole. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
I
They
agree.
laugh at me because I'll be out hiking a mountain somewhere and I'll be on top of the mountain going live on Facebook or something. People are like, you out getting high talking to God again. Like, you're absolutely right. Just because it feels like home to me. And I never, first of all, couldn't hike like that. But
Mm,
second of all, never took the time to just appreciate creation. So yeah, I think that that's such a huge part of this journey, and it's such a huge part of health. To
mm.
me, that's self-care. They have a going joke at work. I leave every day by 4 o'clock because I need to be on a trail somewhere. That's my self-care time. That's a hard boundary.
There you go.
So implementing things like that has been a huge part of this journey as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so empowering. I love your journey. I love your story. I love, you know, the ups and downs. I love that it's been a long journey, because people sometimes feel like this stuff has to happen overnight or should happen overnight. And now you've got to a point where, okay, you're still, you know, healing, and you could go to the doctor and hear what you heard, oh, you've got tumors or whatever, and not freak out and not feel like you don't have control. Like, that's so empowering,
It is.
you know, to be able to have a tool, because I've interviewed people who have been in those situations, and those doctors go in and cut them up,
Mm-mm.
you know. And it's sad, because it's like,
It's
number
awful.
one, that doesn't even solve the problem, because you
No,
still have the opportunity to regrow those tumors, and it's traumatizing.
it's very traumatizing, but that goes back to me saying, like, once you, it goes back to like delicate art. Once you really understand how powerful your mind is, there's nothing that anybody can tell me right now that I feel like I can't overcome. There's
Mm,
nothing. I call it a God moment, call it whatever you want, but just that one moment in time and the realization that you have absolute control over the trajectory of your life. Absolute. It doesn't matter if they tell me I have stage 4 cancer and I'm dying in a week. I don't believe you.
right,
I know what my mind can do. I
right.
know what I've done. I'm going to go home and heal. I'll see you in 6 months.
There you go.
I mean, once you get to that point, it's just, it's amazing. Just the amount of control you can have over your body.
Hmm.
Um, which again, that's why I wrote my book. I'm just like, people need to know that. They need to
Yeah.
know that they're infinite beings. Like, you are limitless. Your mind can take you anywhere that you want to go. You have ultimate control over the trajectory of your life. And once you understand that, like, the sky is the limit. It doesn't
Mhm.
happen overnight. Nobody's going to get there overnight. As I was laughing when I put my progress pictures on Healthy Alternative, people were like, 10 days? I'm like, hell no, not 10 days. What are you talking about?
What's wrong?
Right, 10 years. Um, but you're right. People do think, oh, this should happen overnight. If it happens overnight, easy come, easy go,
Here we
right?
go. Yep.
And I still struggle. I still struggle with food. Like, I want to have a piece of cheesecake, but I know I can't, right? And it'll be a lifelong struggle because, again, we're all addicted to food in
Right.
some way or another. We're all addicted to toxic things. It's a constant struggle, but once you have control over your mental, I think you're golden. You're good. You can get there. It might take you a long time, but you'll get there.
Yep. And the thing that I've learned through this process is you don't have to sacrifice good eating. I mean,
Mm-mm.
so it depends on what kind of restrictions you want to place on yourself. But as far as just, reversing disease and losing weight and getting the mental clarity and stuff, you don't have to go that hard. Like, I had lasagna a couple nights ago. I made it from scratch.
Yeah.
and it was delicious. I made everything, and I didn't put cheese on top or whatever, but like it was still delicious though. You know what I mean? And if I wanted to do cheese, I could do like nut cheese or
Cashew
uh,
cheese, whatever.
cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean you can make it. I just was like, I don't do all that. But I mean it was still really, really good. And now I'm adding that to my little repertoire because I feel like that'd be worth it to make it again.
I think
So
so. But I think some of the things that people struggle with, and I know I struggle with it, right? I'm busy. I work, I got the son I got to tote around, I got all of these things I need to do. People struggle with a fast food lifestyle because it's convenient, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and so cooking for me has become a new love because I had to,
Mm.
right? I can't go buy a lasagna out of the frozen food section because I don't know what's in it. I can't read half of the ingredients.
And it
Um,
nasty sometimes.
that don't even sound good. I don't know
Oh,
what
man.
it is.
I had a vegetarian lasagna. Oh, it was so nasty.
Uh-uh. But I think too that's a struggle, right? Some people don't know how to cook. It's a perfect opportunity to learn. And then people really, truly, with the pace of our lives, don't have time to cook. So, did you say that you are writing a cookbook?
Yeah, yeah. I'm working on recipes for like a year now.
Okay. Well, keep us posted because I would love to.
Well,
But I
yeah,
do. I think that's important. So people like yourself putting out cookbooks, and even quick recipes that are healthy and people can cook. Because I do. I think that is a real big struggle. Is just this. We're so used to convenience, fast food, and just picking something up that we've forgotten the art of cooking and understanding that you can have good food.
yeah,
Um, it may not be a Twinkie, uh, it can still be good. I think that's the other thing that fasting does, right? Is so resetting your palate. Um, Before I started this current fast, I had stopped drinking coffee and all of that stuff, particularly because I'm prone to having heart issues or whatever, and I can't have the caffeine. Um, I realized how much my palate reset. I had some iced tea. I
mm,
didn't realize it was sweetened. I was like, wow, that's
yeah,
sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's just been such an amazing journey, Chris. I am excited about what's to come. I'm really thankful for a healthy alternative because I tell you what, it has just really changed my paradigm around food and what we need to ingest and health in general.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It really makes me feel good to hear and also see. I was actually when I saw your transformation, it was there right now. There's a period of time where the group like posts a whole bunch of transformation pictures. It's like everybody's on the same wavelength or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember I was thinking back to maybe about 2.5, 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I was just like, man, I remember thinking to myself, I can't wait for the day when people are just posting their transformation pictures. And because at the time everybody was getting started, everyone was new,
Yeah.
no one really had the progress yet, you
Yeah.
know? And now for it to come full circle for me and to be having people like yourself on the show and hearing these amazing journeys, like it really makes me feel good. And I'm like, wow, like we did something that's actually helping people. So,
Absolutely.
I appreciate having people like you in the community and your willingness to share. It means a lot, you know. I I wanted to real quick. I wanted to ask you how, like, is your book available somewhere for people to buy?
It's available on Amazon. Um,
Okay,
it's called Limitless Thoughts on Living a Limitless Life.
okay. So if possible, then I'll get a link for your Amazon book, and I'll leave that in the description box so people can check that out. Because talking to you, I could tell that you have a level of enlightenment and going through this situation. You sound like me, like, you know, I'd say things about, our limitless abilities and, like we could do whatever. It's just really understanding you could do it. And then also learning how,
Yeah.
there is a process of learning, but
I can't even explain it. I know you get into these conversations with people and you try to get them there, but there just has to be that moment for them, that spark. And the reason I wrote this book was really that 21 days is the thing, that 21-day road trip.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, again, fell in love with the universe, fell in love with like who I am, really started understanding like there's something so just inherent in all of us that I don't think we've learned to tap into.
Mm.
And it's about clearing out all of the rest of the garbage that we've learned, and really getting to the core of just the essence of who you are. It's really hard to explain. But really, the book just walks through how to clear out all of that junk and how to really start believing, getting rid of those limiting beliefs,
Right.
and really get to the core of, you know what? I'm not a victim. I can't have this victim mentality. I can control all of this
Mm.
if I really believe I can. So I think that's why I wrote the book. I don't know. It's not a long book. It's a pretty easy read. But yeah, that's just, I really wanted people to get to that point because that feeling, once you get it, I don't know, it changes everything.
Changes everything. I agree 100%. Well, this has been enlightening. And
It's been great meeting you and talking with you.
yeah, I'm really happy that we got a chance to do this. And I would love to extend the opportunity to come back at some point in time, maybe do like a live stream and
That'd be
get a
awesome.
chance to interact with the group live.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love that. I will update you on what the doctor says about these tumors.
Yeah,
We'll see
definitely.
how that goes. I'm
Oh,
expecting an all clear.
that reminds me, I have a suggestion. It's the same suggestion that I made to the other member that I was telling you about who was dealing with his tumor. So recently, I've been learning about essential oils, and I've always been interested in herbs and things like that. But I've been using the essential oils for all sorts of different health related issues, energy, whatever. And amongst me, my friends, and those who have used them so far, we've had some really amazing results. So I gave Art a link to this oil. It's called DDR Prime, which
Mhm.
is a blend of oils, and it's designed for tumors. And he told me that the week leading up to his incident, he was having very hard time, weak legs, just not just I don't know, just feeling very weak, very fluish, achy, things like that. Couldn't really work. And after he got his oils, he was taking them for I think just one day. He noticed that his energy was starting to come back. It was just instantaneous.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. I don't think he's fasting yet. I know he plans on it, but yeah, it's an herbal blend that helps to promote shrinking tumors.
Well,
So
send me the link. I would be interested to check it out and try it.
yeah, yeah, I'm gonna send it to you, and if you can implement it in part of your strategy along with fasting, I'm really interested to see the results. I want to make sure that if you're going to be getting checked up pretty soon or whatever, that you do see some significant
Yeah.
results. But I'm confident either way it goes that you will. You
Yeah,
know,
so am I. I think
so
just physically, I can physically feel a difference. So
mhm.
yeah, we'll see. I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah, and one thing I do tell people is like, because I experienced the same thing when I was dealing. I had an irritation in my urethra,
Mm.
and doesn't sound like much, but it was like it got to the point where I was like, I'm like, I am not. How am I going to live with this for the rest of my life? But just like the doctors say, like if they give you an antibiotic, they'll be like, okay, even if it goes away after the first 2 or 3 days,
Taking it.
continue taking it because you have to completely get the virus or whatever, the bacteria under
Yeah,
control. It's the same thing with fasting and the healing you get from that. Your initial whatever pains and things may go away, but you got to continue doing it to
absolutely.
to to fully flush out that issue. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that little extra tidbit. But
I love it.
was there anything else that you wanted to speak on before we wrap things up?
I can't think of anything right now, Chris.
You said it all.
I don't think so, but
Well,
I'm sure later on I'll email you. Like, you know what I forgot?
I didn't want to get too deep, but hopefully you'll be willing to come back and chat with us again, and we can always get into more things. But I love your energy. I think you look great. Your transformation's amazing, and you are on the right path. I definitely expect a year from now you're going to continue to see amazing growth in your life.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about it. I just think, again, the sky's the limit. So we'll see where it ends up. I'm just trying to get through this 21 days.
I'll shoot you a little tip with the oiled link to help you get through it. All right, y'all. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. And I will see you all next time.
Bye.